Before he became Kareem, before the Skyhook kissed the rafters and the records tumbled at his feet. He was Ferdinand Louis Alcindor Jr., born on April 16, 1947, in New York City, Harlem. To be specific, he wasn't your average kid. At birth, he weighed 12 pounds. By 9 years old, he was already 5 feet 8. And by the time he was 14, he stood a towering 6'8". Forget puberty, Lou Alcindor hit growth spurts like they owed him money. But even though his body screamed basketball, his mind was somewhere deeper. He was a quiet, thoughtful kid. Loved to read, loved jazz. Carried himself with a seriousness that made him seem older than his years. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just trying to understand the world and maybe block a few shots along the way. In high school, he played for Power Memorial Academy in Manhattan, completely dominated. Over 3 years, his team went 79-2. He led them to 71 straight wins and 3 straight city championships. Opponents didn't know whether to guard him or ask him for mercy. He blocked shots, scored at will, and altered the game just by stepping on the court. Naturally, every college coach in America wanted him. But Lou chose UCLA, and a man named John Wooden, coach known for winning, yes, but also for building men of character. The fit was perfect. Now here's a fun fact. Back in those days, freshmen couldn't play varsity. So for an entire year, Alcindor was stuck practicing against UCLA's main team and he destroyed them. Word got out fast. For S, the 7'1" freshman, who was making All-Americans look like JV, and when he finally debuted in 1966, boom! The college game changed overnight. He scored 56 points in his first game. Let me say that again, 56 on a college debut. He was graceful, unstoppable, and eerily calm. That signature Skyhook, still raw at the time, was already showing flashes of what it would become. The most unstoppable shot in basketball history. Over 3 seasons, Alcindor led UCLA to 3 national championships and a ridiculous 88-2 record. He was named NCAA Tournament Most Outstanding Player 3 times. It was like someone created a cheat code and then stuck it in a Bruins jersey. But Lou wasn't just making waves on the court. Off it, the late 60s were boiling. Civil rights, Vietnam, protests, was all in motion, and he wasn't going to sit quietly. He boycotted the 1968 Olympics in protest of America's treatment of black athletes. He studied Malcolm X, read deeply into African and Islamic philosophy, and started thinking hard about who he really was and who he wanted to be. In 1971, a few years into his NBA career, Lou Alcindor made a bold, life-defining decision. He converted to Islam and changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which means generous servant of the Almighty. It wasn't for headlines. It wasn't for attention. It was personal. It was powerful. Yes, it made some people uncomfortable. But for Kareem, it was about standing tall in more ways than one. But let's backtrack a bit, because this is a basketball story after all. In 1969, the Milwaukee Bucks selected him No. 1 overall in the NBA draft, and from day one, he was dominant. He averaged 28.8 points and 14.5 rebounds as a rookie. It's not figuring things out. That's hello, I'm here to take over. In just his second season, he led the Milwaukee Bucks, to their first NBA title. He dropped 27 points and 18.5 rebounds per game in the finals and was named Finals MVP. And oh, did I mention his teammate was a certain Oscar Robertson? That's right, the Big O and the Big Skyhook. Good luck, everybody else. But while the team was winning, Kareem never quite settled into life in Milwaukee. He was a private man, a deep thinker, and let us be honest, a 7'2" black Muslim intellectual in 1970s Wisconsin wasn't exactly going to blend in. By the mid-70s, he requested a trade, not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of a quiet certainty that he needed a different environment. He wanted to be closer to cultural roots, to community. And in 1975, the Bucks granted his wish. They traded him to the Los Angeles Lakers. And that changed everything. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar landed in Los Angeles in 1975, the city was a swirl of glitz, disco, and celebrities with sideburns that could bench press a Buick. But beneath all that Hollywood dazzle, the Lakers were in a funk. He didn't come with fanfare. Didn't he throw a welcome parade or host a press conference with sunglasses and a snakeskin blazer? That wasn't his style. Kareem just showed up, laced up, and got to work. And what work it was. In his very first season with the Lakers, he averaged nearly 28 points and 17 rebounds a game. The team didn't quite make it over the hump, but it was clear something special was building. And at the heart of it was a man whose skyhook had now evolved into a kind of sacred ritual. Let's pause for a second and give the skyhook its flowers. This wasn't just a shot. It was the shot. The shot you couldn't block. The shot you couldn't predict. Kareem would glide into the lane plant 1 foot like a jazz musician hitting a sweet note, and with the grace of a man who understood physics on a spiritual level, he'd flick that ball over his shoulder. Smooth, effortless, unbothered. And it went in. Every single time. Opponents tried everything. Double teams, triple teams, prayer. Nothing worked. Yet the skyhook was poetry in motion, and Kareem was the poet who barely needed to speak. Over the next few years, he racked up MVPs like they were frequent flyer miles. By 1980, he had already won 5. That's not Best Player of the Year. That's "This league still belongs to me," and it did. But something was still missing. Championships. Legacy. That special connection between a leader and his team. Then came 1979, and with it, a rookie named Earvin "Magic" Johnson. Magic was everything Kareem wasn't. Flashy, outgoing, smiling like he'd just hit the lottery every time he touched the ball. But they were perfect together. The stoic giant and the charismatic showman, the jazz and the funk, the master and the magician. Their chemistry clicked immediately. In Magic's rookie season, the Lakers stormed through the playoffs. But in Game 5 of the finals, Kareem went down with a sprained ankle. Most assumed the Sixers would force a Game 7 and take it at home. But then Magic did something. Well, magical. He started Game 6 at center, Kareem's position, and dropped 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. Lakers won the title. Magic won Finals MVP. And instead of jealousy, Kareem smiled. He knew. They had something special. Over the next decade, the Lakers became the embodiment of SHOWTIME fast breaks, no-look passes, Hollywood stars courtside, and banners being raised like curtain calls. And at the center of it all, still was Kareem. He wasn't the flashiest. He didn't dunk much. But when the game was tight, when things got ugly and needed calming, they fed it to the big man, and that skyhook still money. Between 1980 and 1988, Kareem helped lead the Lakers to 5 more championships. He was Finals MVP again in 1985, at age 38. Just let that sink in. 38. Still giving teams the business with his signature blend of grace and destruction. And through it all, he stayed Kareem. Quiet, thoughtful, a reader, a thinker. A man more likely to quote Langston Hughes than to trash talk. Sure, he didn't always play nice with the media. He wasn't about smiles for the cameras. But that was never the point. What mattered was the work, the game, the message. Off the court, Kareem became an outspoken advocate for civil rights, education, and culture. He wrote columns, spoke up when others stayed silent. He wasn't chasing cool, he was chasing truth. And slowly, the world began to appreciate, not just the athlete, but the man. By the time the 1989 season came around, Kareem announced it would be his last. Everywhere the Lakers went, opposing teams honored him. Standing ovations, gifts, tears. After 2 decades of being quietly dominant, the world gave him his flowers, and he accepted them, not with cheers, but with calm dignity. And then, on April 23, 1989, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played his final regular season game.
20 seasons, 6 MVPs, 6 championships.
And the most points scored in NBA history. A record that stood for nearly 40 years. The skyhook was retired. But the story wasn't over. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar walked off the court for the last time in 1989, the game of basketball, didn't he just lose its all-time leading scorer? It lost one of its deepest thinkers, its calmest. Giants, and let's be honest, its smoothest skyhooker. Most superstars retire to applause, fade into golf carts, and maybe pop up in a few commercials for car insurance or sneakers. But Kareem, he had bigger things in mind. Books, film, social change, thought leadership. Honestly, if basketball had been just the first chapter of his life, it would have still been enough. But for Kareem, basketball was simply his first language. And once he'd said all he had to say with rebounds and skyhooks, he moved on to new conversations, ones that needed a pen, a microphone, and a little courage. Let's start with his voice, because after retirement, Kareem really started to speak. He wrote essays, op-eds, and columns for major outlets like Time, The Washington Post, The Hollywood Reporter, tackling topics ranging from politics to race to culture to, yes, basketball. And he wasn't throwing elbows or hot takes. He wrote with nuance, with thought, with clarity. You might expect a 7'2" athlete to write like he dunks. Loud, powerful one note. But Kareem's writing was more like his game. Elegant, calculated, and always a few steps ahead. And then came the books. He wrote memoirs, history books, children's stories, and even mystery novels. His writing helped bring attention to black inventors, historical icons, and overlooked figures. He used his platform to uplift, not just to reminisce. He also took his talents to Hollywood, not to act, although Airplane. Fans will remember his brilliantly dry cameo. He became a cultural consultant, a voice behind the scenes. He even worked on Marvel's Luke Cage series as a staff writer, because of course he did. Why not? But Kareem didn't stop there. He became a strong advocate for education, launching programs and scholarships aimed at helping underprivileged youth. He worked with the Obama administration as a global cultural ambassador. He gave speeches at universities, high schools, community centers, wherever people were willing to listen. And when asked, why stay so active? Why not relax? Kareem had a simple answer. Because the work's not done. He never sought applause. He didn't need trending hashtags. He wasn't trying to go viral. He was just trying to make the world smarter, kinder, better. But let's not pretend he's all serious. Kareem has a dry, razor-sharp wit that sneaks up on you like a defender thinking they can block a skyhook. He once joked that being tall meant always being asked to change light bulbs and grab cereal boxes off the top shelf, the perks of being 7'2". He shrugged. Social media is sprinkled with humor, intellect, and the occasional hilarious clapback. Quietly, of course. And through all this, he remained a gentle mentor. He advised younger players, LeBron, Giannis, KD, not always in front of cameras, sometimes with a phone call, sometimes with a thoughtful article. He didn't scold or lecture, he guided. Like a big brother with a bookshelf and a record collection. And then, in 2023, something monumental happened. After holding the all-time NBA scoring record for nearly 40 years, Kareem passed the torch to LeBron James. When it happened, he walked onto the court in LA, smiled that subtle Kareem smile, and handed LeBron the game ball. No drama, no tears, just grace. One legend honoring another. It was quiet, it was powerful, it was Kareem. Even in that moment, he didn't make it about himself. He made it about legacy. What is that legacy? Sure, you can point to the 6 MVPs, 6 championships, 19 All-Star selections, and 38,387 career points. But numbers alone don't tell the full story. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a man who rose in an era when speaking out could cost you everything, and he spoke anyway. A man who dominated the NBA, but chose to define himself by what he stood for, not just where he stood in the stats. He proved that you can be quiet and still be strong. That intelligence and athletics aren't opposites. That changing your name, your beliefs, or your path doesn't make you radical, it makes you real. In a world of noise, Kareem showed us the power of stillness. In a game built on highlights, he gave us substance. And in a league chasing the next big thing, he reminded us that some things like skyhooks, dignity, and wisdom never go out of style. Thank you for watching the story of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If this inspired you, touched you, or made you want to pick up a book, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. More legends are coming your way. And remember, greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it glides in slow motion, whispers wisdom, and still scores 38,000 points. Stay thoughtful, stay curious, and until next time, shoot your shot. Kareem style.